Oh fuck, I'm walking, and I'm kind of in a state of aliveness, and I'm gonna try to share what I'm with right now after having done some journaling, and came to this realization that it feels oddly, strangely new. And I'm gonna start with saying something, starting from a more universal perspective that feels appropriate to do before I go into my own, my more my personal experience. So I'm going to start with this from a more scientific perspective. That's kind of a part, or probably a big part of this realization that has been kind of in slumber, so to speak. And I'm gonna headline this share by saying that I'm gonna headline it with a headline that says our shared cultural problem. Our shared cultural problem. And after having climbed, okay, so now I'm going into my narrative, and I'm not gonna do that because my intention is to talk more from a start with a scientific framing first, so this makes more sense. So the newest cognitive science that's called for the 4 E's, like E for, and the 4 E's is for, not sure if I can remember all 4 of them, but first of all is embodied. One of the, that's the first E. And the other one is embedded, and there's extended, it's one of them, and the last one is enacted. This talk, or this sharing is I'm gonna talk about embedded and the embodied, the 2 E's of the 4. So that's kind of this is I'm gonna try to lay them out as best as I can, having not much to go on. So looking forward to diving more into it, but The philosopher that is kind of can be seen, at least from my current understanding, is the godfather of this cognitive science approach. That's the cutting edge, so to speak, in a global context for ease. That's the philosopher, the French philosopher called Maurice Merleau-Ponty, and he made a huge contribution to the way we in our everyday life tend to forget what we are embedded in. And what we're embedded in, there's a nice metaphor for being embedded. And I tend to use the analogy of the two young fishes that's swimming in the ocean one day and coming across this old fish, and they're swimming towards each other, these two younger fishes. And when they swim by this older fish, the older fish is looking at them and is saying, "Hi guys, so how's the water today?" And swims along, and the two younger fishes are looking at each other and with this puzzling, looking at each other and puzzling faces, and one of them is asking, "What the hell is water?" So I find that to be a nice analogy for the embeddedness. So, to bring this to our shared current culture, and the problem of our shared current culture is that we're embedded in a culture that seems to tell us that we have to manage our lives by ourselves. And of course that's true on a level. We all have to manage and have a sense for our own self-leadership. And at the same time, in this zeitgeist of individuation, we are prone to to if we don't succeed, whatever that means, in our lives, in our careers, in our family lives, or all the things we have to manage so we can have a sense of control and all we have to do, we can lose a sense of that, our sense of being as a creature in this world, having the capacity to reflect about our own mortality and what's really meaningful in our lives. So, in other words, in our culture that we're all embedded in, especially in Western societies, that we can start to feel that this exhaustion about having to manage everything and doing, and all the doing we have to do in order to do, so we can finally, at the end of the day or the end of the year or the end of our lives, we can rest. So if we get this, it's no wonder we get the sense of meaninglessness about all the doing and forgetting that we're really here. We have this experience of existing and the more we get entangled about whatever we're entangled in, and the environment we find ourselves participating in, and what kind of air we're breathing, we get more and more a sense of, it's easy to get more and more a sense of like, is this like we're losing touch with what we really need and what we really want of our precious time, that suddenly can disappear from us just by one step out in the wrong direction in traffic or whatever. Death is not a place long in, like in the future somewhere, but it can happen in instantly, and that's the reality. Our fragility as human beings. And this calls for action, realizing that we're mortals is also an opportunity to really reflect on how you're going to spend your precious time, and what do you want, how do you want to participate with the time and your energy. And all these institutions that's gonna give us labels so we can carry on. Yeah, you're depressed. Here, take some drugs. You will feel much better. Oh, you have anxiety. Yeah, they're not gonna tell you. All this institution is not gonna tell you that they're part of the same fucking culture that's causing you to suffer. They're not gonna tell you that. The only thing you can do, at least in my experience, is to realize what kind of shit show you're a part of and embedded in. There's nothing wrong with, of course you're depressed, of course you have anxiety, of course you're suffering. We live in a deeply disembodied, unconnected world where if we manage to manipulate enough, like control and manipulate our environment to the degree that we can call ourselves that we have succeeded in life, is that how you succeed in life? Is that what you really want? And our sense of what also occurs to me right now is how we are all susceptible for our own bullshit. The same things that we're like, because of our adaptability, we're also prone to deceive ourselves. Because we have the ability to imagine or to justify our own actions. That speaks to the same kind of control that I think I have to have so I can fit in the situation I find myself in, without even questioning or having a dialogue with ourselves that might bring some clarity in my life and where I'm headed and where I came from. So I guess I'm saying all this to also question this for myself, and having a need to share this this aliveness that I'm coming from right now, and not being correct. There's also a mismatch between, like, yeah, if I come with a correct proposition when I'm talking to you or relating to you, that might bring that means that I'm correct in my proposition, but that might not be the truth. That might not be your truth, your true, authentic response to how the world meets you. Maybe you're just longing secretively for some authentic connection in your life where you can express yourself without having to be or manage how you behave or what you're saying. To step over the comfortability of being right and having the clever answers or the so-called right response to whatever you're faced with. So you can be seen as somebody whatever. So you can be seen as somebody who fits in. And I'm questioning, and I'm sharing all of this as I start to realize that having spent enough time being in connection with people who are so, like, in touch with their being, their beingness, it has afforded me to see the difference in our cultural problem. And I'm saying this as a realization. I'm not trying to hold myself higher than other people, because I'm also part of this. I'm also embedded in the culture, but having the good fortune or the innate, having followed my own innate what's the fucking word? My intuition very unconsciously throughout my life, but having ended up at the place where I found myself right now, that has afforded me a contrast of how to be a human being and not being, yeah. So, and I also want to say that this is a lot of words, and that's where I started at earlier today when I was journaling. I was hesitating. I was hesitating to look at all this, to write down my words truthfully, because there's a part of me that is also very comfortable in my situation, not willing to sacrifice my own kind of comfort. Because my experience of putting words onto paper and having a heartfelt dialogue with myself is something very confronting. It's very confronting if you dare to tell yourself the truth. But it's also, I think, it's also can orient you to your purpose and how you really want to live your life in a meaningful way. And if you listen to this for almost half an hour, yeah, and if this made any sense for you at all, if there was a part of you that kind of became alive listening to this, feel free to reach out and let's continue in a conversation where we can really listen and have a shared sense of togetherness, and maybe we can, in a meaningful way and in a good manner, have some meaningful connection that might bring us some closer to our own truth and where we're currently find ourselves and where we're heading and how we might come closer to ourselves and get reoriented and not having to put on a show of who we think we are or present ourselves in a certain polite way, or so we can step out of this inauthenticness that we might have developed as a way to fit in whatever context that we find significant to fit into. Okay, I'm gonna have a coffee, and again, feel free to reach out if this was of interest for you. Okay, have a good day. Thank you for listening.